All right, let's get started. So in this webinar, what I really wanted to do was go through. We went through an outline in the previous webinar, and I just wanted to carry that forward and build upon that outline and try to write a few thousand words with you guys. And we'll sort of use all sorts of combinations of different utilities that we have in Outranking, different tactics to build out some of the sections. And we'll use like different examples and different sources of data to really understand how you build content with Outranking. And during this process, create a few thousand words along with you guys. So let's get started. We have already built out just an additional description. Let me delete this here. Okay, so we have this using the AI wizard already. We have some of our sections already defined. So we've already defined our outline. And all we need to do is create content for it. And I've chosen different kinds of content and different sources of content that we'll probably need out of it, but I've not generated any content. So I have really no idea whether some of these things exist in SERP, whether we'll find relevant data or not. And if we don't, where do we go to find those relevant data and start writing around it? What I really wanted to focus here was not a finished draft, a first draft. So a 2000, approximately 2000 words of an article that has everything that we need in it. And then it's your job to go ahead and refine it and make some fine tunings around it. Okay, let's get started. First thing, I need an introduction. So let's go to methods. And I really like two methods that we build out here, which are very specific, right? So one is, let's just go ahead and search introduction. Introduction, okay. So we have section introduction, which is not published yet. But we have brilliant introduction, we have past blog introduction, we have bad blog introduction. So while we are at it, we'll create all three kinds of introductions, see which one we like, and then keep that. So let's go ahead and command that. It's asking us for a tone. So I will go ahead and add a tone here. Okay, let's try it. Cannabis is one of the most misunderstood plants in history. This article will explain why is it important to understand cannabis and its benefits before we take action, so that every person can make an educated decision about whether or not CBD oil should be part of their daily routine. Read on for more information. This is really good. Okay, now I'm going to put a few dashes over here, and then we're going to go and create a past blog introduction as well. So when I say command, it's going to ask me for the audience here. So my audience, like who's going to read the CBD benefits, right? Someone in chronic pain or someone looking for alternative medicine, right? Alternative medication, someone who's it for? So someone for alternative medication. So this is another paragraph that you can use as an introduction. Just remove this pain, agitate, and solution. It is, so this particular method is very, very specific to building out blog posts, right? So this is not going to talk about products and the benefits of products and stuff like that. This is more catered towards writing a blog post only. Okay, this is great. Let's go ahead and add one more, and Control C, and we'll do one more. It's asking us the same thing, so we'll just say elderly. Okay, and we can command it now, before and after. Okay, so even these are very specific. So why is it not giving the bridge? We'll see again. There we go. All right, so this may be a little better. Again, let's read through it. You may be wondering what CBD is and how it can help you. It's type of hemp extract that has proven to benefit people with certain medical conditions, such as chronic pain, anxiety, insomnia. And then after, CBD oil is not the same as THC. It's going into those details. Moreover, there are many different types of oils available for purchase online, blah, blah, blah. The following article, so you can break this out and say the following article will show you why using cannabis-based product might provide relief from pain, anxiety, sleeplessness, and more, right? So really, really good 3 introduction paragraphs to choose from. I'm going to specifically choose the middle one. I really like this framework. Okay. All right, let me just expand the screen a little bit here. Participants, okay. Actually, I can see this here. All right, so we have our introduction now. And now we can go to the next sections. So same, right? Like there's 3 kinds of introductions that we have right now. Use any of these, or you can also write your own. Generic introductions just don't work anymore. So like someone recently shared an article in the group about how marketers are spending more time writing content than before. Why is it? Your audience is digesting content and looking at the content from a very different perspective. They really don't have time. They don't have time for the fluff that most people are, writing around in their introduction. It's just not engaging enough, right? So in order for you to create good content, some of this AI tools plus a lot more work is required in order to get those users to really read your content now. So creating quality content should be of the paramount importance here. Okay, all right. So let's go to sections now. And we've not had any sections yet, right? So we're going to talk about this first thing. What is CBD? So you can either copy this directly into the editor like this, or you can just start building upon it. So you can say answer, and it will automatically answer it for it. Okay, this is fine, which is compound that gets users high. No. Okay, this non has no THC in it. Okay, so THC is the compound that gets you high, I guess, right? Not that. So this is right on, but it just reads a little differently. You might want to rephrase this just a little bit. So let's keep going to our next section, and we'd say medical benefits of CBD. There's some introduction maybe required here, or some further information before you dive into what are some of the benefits of CBD. So what I did with I recently published, I have published, it's not approved yet, but section introduction. So I'm going to select this and say section introduction. Okay, let's do this, H2. So yeah, so I don't understand, converting some of it into infographics. What do you think of creating the content, then converting some of it into infographics? That's amazing idea, right? I think it's really important to repurpose content, right? And this goes for any sort of content piece. So what I'd like, when I was working in enterprises, we had plenty of time and resources. What we do is either build out a video and then repurpose it into infographic, into blog post, into even smaller tweets and social media engaging elements, right? So you can repurpose content into many different ways. And I think you should definitely do as much as you can to repurpose content. Yeah, that'll just drive more attention and traffic to your web page, right? You can give them backlinks, or you can link them back to your original document.
I didn't mean to go off on a tangent. Just one thing that I found, outranking, is that like this article I've just finished, I haven't even counted the words, but it's huge. There's no other article out there that's as long as this one. And I was able to create a lot of really, really good content, but I'm looking at it and I'm creating a lot of pictures, so it's to break it up. But as I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, gosh, if there was a way that I could convert some of this quickly to an infograph, then it would make it even easier for the user to read. So right. maybe I'm asking too much.
You know what? That's excellent, right? That's like an excellent feature where you can dump a blog post and get an infographic out of it, right? How clever.
I don't know if that's even possible to do without ranking, but if that was a feature that you could add, then that would be amazing. And again, the idea just occurred to me. I thought, wow, that would be incredible. So just food for thought.
No, that's an excellent idea. We should definitely look into this. Maybe we can do something with GPT-3, the image generation technology. We'll look into this. It has a bit of more challenging because you want concise text and stuff like that. But yeah, it's definitely possible with a little bit of an effort. So we'll look into that. Okay, so next question, Fly. How do you fix when it gives an H1? How to bring back to P tag, right? So yeah, super easy. This is an H1 tag. Let's say you wanted to convert it into a P tag. All you do is select it and unclick it. So just click the H1 out and it will bring it back, and you can bring it back with click an H1. Okay, all right, so you're welcome. Okay, may have various conditions. Okay, all right, so this help with various conditions, right? This is an amazing introduction for medical benefits of CBD. Now it's important that you get into factual information and you write using facts and not GPT-3. So let's go back to sections. And I've curated this outlines over here to reduce inflammation. Let's generate some concepts out of it. Wow. Okay. It's also talking about some products that we can sell, and we don't want to use any of these information.
I have a question for you at this time.
Yes.
Scroll back up to the gear. Just on this part right here, right there, hit the gear. Now, I'm presuming this is where it's getting its information from to write all those information. Sometimes it doesn't pull back the correct information, and I can't edit this box. So and I can't even highlight it to copy it, to put it into something like Notepad and to make corrections to it.
You cannot? Like,
No, I couldn't the other day. Isn't that interesting? Because I couldn't touch it the other day, and
so are you on someone's team, or you are the primary account holder?
I'm the primary account. It's Bob here.
Okay,
So I was
that
able
is extremely weird. So if you can give me a little more information on what sort of browser you are maybe using, this could be the browser related issue, but there is no such condition that we put in the backend that can prevent you from editing this. So that's why, like, I want to see if it's a browser related issue that we can fix or something like that.
No, you know what? You've answered my question. You can edit it. I'll have to try it again, but I'm using Firefox.
It should work on Firefox. If you face that issue again, just update your Firefox and let me know. If you still face the issue, I can do a remote call with you and help you figure that out. But there is no condition in the backend that can prevent you from editing stuff.
Okay, this is perfect. I wanted to be able to edit that the other day. I couldn't even copy it. But okay.
So you can copy it, you can delete it, you can add your custom source, you can Control Z. Everything will work just like an editor.
Excellent. That's what I wanted to know. I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome. No problem. Okay, so now let's say we want to talk about reduce inflammation, right? So we will paste that in here, and then we'll start writing about inflammation. So CBD elevates inflammation. Sure, duh, we already know because we've already had this here. And okay, so I'd want to expand upon these two concepts. Okay, all right, that's cleverly rephrased. Okay. All right, so it stopped here. So let's see if I can, okay, there we go. It just stopped before the dot. So I'm not going to talk about Frank. Let's just delete this. I don't know where Frank came from. And this is what I was talking about. Sometimes it'll not give you what you want, but it's okay. Let's select this too, and then expand upon that as well. Okay. All right. So this is where it stops, right? And it has taken all the facts in here. Like I can see all the information that it was able to rephrase, it did. And the ones that it was not able to, it kept as is, right? So this is amazing. Let's go next. And we can look at lower blood pressure. So I'll expand upon two of these sections, and then we can go deeper into some other use cases. Okay, the CBD, the treatment for hypertension. This is great stuff, and I love it. Like you can straight away start expanding upon it. And okay, this is 4. Okay, this can be my centerpiece, and then this could be my last. Okay, all right. So we're getting there. We got to about 500 words, and this is not counting the meta description. So we have about 500 words in here, and assuming like by the end of the entire thing, we'll probably be close to 2000, right? Okay, that's fine. And we can, we don't have to carry on with this entire thing. But what I do want to do is I want to go into this last section and help you figure some of these things out. So not last section, second last section. Oh, where did the products go? Okay. Okay, all right. So I don't have any products in here. That's what I was trying to show. So let's add, oh, there we go. It is. There could be a bug here, but okay, all right. So these are the 3 products that I put in here, and I don't have any information here. So I opened up 3 Amazon tabs as well, where we'll get the data from. But types of CBD oil. So we are here now. I want to use this as an H2 tag, and then I want to write an introduction for it. So I'll go back here, and I'll just select this particular thing and say command. So it'll write an introduction. Okay, all right. So it started with some of the stuff. CBD is not and has so many benefits. Okay. We don't want that. So we'll shift Z and it will bring that back. Okay, I'll select again and just command it. Types of CBD products. Okay, all right. This is where I wanted to stop because I've already created some of my products. But okay, this is my H2 tag. And now we can come here and we can start elaborating on some of these topics. So there might be a little adjustment that you need to do in this introduction, but minor adjustments. Okay, let's go to sections and go back to this. So we have our, like there's 3 initial products that I want to talk about, right? And I can copy this, I can copy this, I can copy this. Now we want to talk about these 3 products, which are not found on the SERP data. So if I click on this, it will tell me that, hey, oh, it still was able to find some information. Oh, because it's in here. Let's delete this and generate. It's going to tell me it cannot find any data unless it was really able to. Okay, so this is maybe something related to it or maybe not. I don't think this is related to the information that we really want. So let's delete this and we will add custom information in here. So let's go ahead and find Ramina. Okay, so this is the product that I found from Amazon related to it. So we can copy this, go back to the SERP data, and you can press this, Control A, delete it, Control A, delete it, paste it, press close, and we can start generating concepts from it. Okay, all right. So we have information about this product that can be directly used into the content. Now you can make this a little more readable for your audience if you wanted to as well. So let me delete this so we have a clear view. And I will go ahead and select this features. Really not features, they just mentioned more information about the product itself. So let's go ahead and see if there is any other information that we can find. Yeah, it doesn't really have features in it. It's more about information. So what we had initially was actually better data. And you can do multiple things, right? So let's say I'm going to do features. And we did not find any good data out of it. And you want to now rerun this particular utility and features out of it, right? So let's go ahead and see this or default values out of it. So let's go ahead and select default and then click generate again. Okay, so it started generating the data again in the default manner. So we can delete this. Let me delete this. Just 1 second, guys. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, all right. So okay, we can delete this, and then we can select some of this information here, and then start expanding upon it. It's a lot of information. I would want to break it out into 2 sections if I want to really have more data. So I could summarize this first, then summarize this. And then I say, okay, there's a bunch of little information that I want to put together and summarize them as one. So, okay. And then maybe this last at the end. Okay, so you can see that this is really good stuff. You can probably make some transitioning over here and rewrite a little bit, but it's really good to go. You can also create like a 3-point bullet system out of it, just like how Amazon had it, something like this, and start going about creating the remaining section. Same thing goes for hemp. You can use one of the information that I have here, hemp oil. And this is hemp oil, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and copy that. Go back to our initial content, say hemp oil, paste this directly in here. And then you can generate concepts. So while we are looking at this webinar, my dog has been pestering behind me to take her to the daycare. Zoe? Oh, if she's in the mood, I'll bring her here to say some hi. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back to this hemp gummy edibles and then made from hemp. Okay, sure. Of course, I know that. And then I can start building upon this. I wouldn't want to do this, just one. Okay, then I can combine this too. Okay, cramps. And then I can support better sleep and stuff. So, okay, this is interesting, right? So it's creating like it can really support all of these things. So I don't want to combine all of these in. And I just want to use them as a bullet point system. Okay, you can probably delete all of these out of here and say benefits of using these gummies. Something like that, right? And then you can just create some bullets out of it, make the data more readable than what it is already to the users from Amazon. Okay. Okay, so this is how you go about building out this particular product. Now, let's say there's some other utilities too, right? So I'll get to those questions just in a second. Let's say you have this product introductions as well, public product. Okay, so there's a ADA framework. If you wanted to create some information around that for this particular product, you could do that as well. So all you have to do is paste this in here, edibles, and then maybe let's say I wanted to paste this information in here. That could work as well. And then you are already okay. I'll just close that out and then say command. Okay, so you can you can work this into your sections however you want. Not required. It really depends on what sort of page you are creating. But just to kind of give you a quick way of finding information. Okay, let's look at some of this questions here. The pass method is giving an error, pick a tone, but doesn't have a text blocks to add it. Yes. It's because it's at the central location, Kathy. If you see this cogs wheel right here, you can add that in here. So there's different ways of building out tone, and there are some system parameters, plus there are some user inputted parameters. So it really depends on who build out the method. Sometimes people would build it out with prompts where you want to keep a separate prompt or separate tone to your content than what you're talking about in the entire thing. So you can separate those out, but this is more central. So just add the tone here and click out of it, and then it should work. Past blog introduction. There's no known tones. You can add as many tones as you want, and there's just no limits on it. Absolutely. You can be as creative as you want, or use some of the existing ones that people are using. So there's just no limitations. You can be as creative as you want. So you could say a mom of 10 kids to intensify the increased amount of kids as an emotion. You could say a lawyer who's rude. You can be like really creative with this. We're working on it. So we're working on a major redesign to make the user flow much more intuitive and better for you guys to really find information in the best possible way. So look out for that enhancement in the next. Where did you click to get the tone pop up? Kathy, if you see this right for me at the very end, there's a cogs wheel right next to it. You click on it and it's going to open up the output length where you can set this and you can set the tone. Got it. Okay. So this was a quick, we're about 900 words here. And I mean, if my life depended on it, I'd probably be done with 3,000 words by right now. So this is a quick gist. Now let's get into the questions, right? Like you guys will have plenty of questions on how to use certain features or certain things that you are trying to do and you're finding it difficult. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask that exact question. We'll go through that exercise right now, helping you try to figure out how I can. It might help to give some recommendations for what type of tone to use for what type of blog, of course, right? So I would definitely consider adding a help section, which can allow you to just kind of pick some creative tones and give you some ideas as to what you can use and be creative from there. Probably something here with a help section would definitely help. Okay. All right. So any more questions, guys? We are at about 1,000 words, and I've before going around and building out the content and boring you guys to death, it would be great if you want to ask some questions. We still have plenty of time, and we can look at a lot of other stuff.
I have a question because I struggled a little bit, but came up with something pretty good in the end. But let's say you've done all your article. Now you want to create an FAQ section. And let's say what's out there on the SERPs, you just don't like any of them. They're all crap. So how do you go about using this to create a good quality FAQ section? Let's
do it. Okay. So let's go to just a second. Let me bring up my other screen if I can. Not that. Just 1 second. I'm trying to open up a window where I can pull up some content from YouTube. We can create some FAQs from it, and we can also write for those FAQs using the YouTube script. And you can do this pretty much with any text, right? So YouTube is just a start, but you can use it for anything pretty much. Okay, so let me add this in here, and we can pick anything, right? So okay, it could be this. It's this many options. So let's see. I don't want to talk about a product, right? So let's see this. And we'll have to get through that. 3, 2, 1, and skip. Okay. All right. So we have the script, and no, it is still telling me that I'll have to watch this. Okay. Got it. Let's pause it. It's about 7 minutes long. I'll open up the transcripts from here. I'll toggle out the timestamps so I can grab all this information from here. Control C. We'll go back here, and now we want to create some content from this. So what I'll do is let's go to sections, add a new one. Oh, we already have an FAQ. Let's go ahead and delete all of these. So wait a second, we're talking about CBD, so I don't need to go and look at this. So let's go ahead and look at CBD. CBD benefits, cannabis oil, health and pharmaceutical benefits of CBD and THC. Okay, let's go ahead and open up the transcripts, copy this data, come back here, and add this information in here. Okay, so you have information, and now you want to create FAQs from it. Select the FAQs, generate content. Okay, so I generated some FAQs out of the same content that we just added, right? So we added this content in here, and I generated FAQ. So these are the questions that it gave me. And now it's time for you to write content from it, right? Like, what are some of the reasons why a patient might want to take CBD or THC, right? We want to write about that. So let's go ahead and convert this into an H3 tag. And we'll convert all of these into H3 tag, right? So H3, 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 Okay, all right. So let's say we have some of these things. I don't really know which FAQs you want to keep, but like, what is this? You don't want this, you can delete it out. Now, let's say you want to write about this, right? What are the common treatments for insomnia? When you create an when you pop this thing out into an H3 tag, it will automatically maintain that content that you initially added up over here as well, right? So now what you need to do is find all the information that is only related to this H3 tag, not everything, not the introduction, not the end, right? Like not thank you, not channel partners and stuff like that. All I want to know is everything related to this particular topic. So I will go here and select related. I am not sure what is happening. For some reason, some things just keep getting disappearing.
Could you just click answer?
You can, totally. It'll probably not give you factual information. So if facts is not a problem for that type of content, then okay, sure. So FAQs, okay. So we had what is insomnia? Okay, so it generate like anti-inflammatory, pain relief, good for anxiety, right? So all of these is somehow tied into what is it? How is it common treatments of no? So it's finding out the common treatments for insomnia. So it's referring back to CBD again. Let's go ahead and delete this. And then you say like, okay, I want to write about this H3 tag around this particular concepts, right? So I would drop this in here, pick all of these, summarize concept. It'll try to relate it automatically to insomnia. So you see that? Insomnia is dropped right in. And it is trying to pull out all the insomnia related stuff. So you can use this particular method or absolutely just enter this. There you go. Either or, up to you. And then you just, it's just so many, right? Like you can answer this. I'm not sure what happened here.
I get that sometimes too, where it'll just pop up that
Yeah,
long. I figured it's
for
just
some
a bug.
reason. Yeah, it is actually. And it's GPT-3 not listening to some of our instructions at all times. So sometimes it just goes on tandem. Just delete that stuff and go back to it. We're placing some checkpoints to prevent this. But again, it's AI. So, okay. So this is how, like, I mean, creating an FAQ session would be like a piece of cake. You can dump any content in it and then collect questions out of it. You can dump an entire web page in it and say, you know what, collect all the questions from it. It will come up with the questions and then you can use the answer or the way I did it from getting some of the concepts and build out the answers for it.
One question I have, and I'm just wondering how this affects SEO. In the field that I'm in, some of the stuff that's out there on the internet is just plain wrong. It's absolute crap.
Yep.
But that's what all the authority sites are saying. So if I write about the same topic, but I'm contradicting what's out there, because what I'm writing is different, is that going to have a negative effect on SEO? Or should it not make any difference?
It should not. It depends on the intent, right? So let's say, for example, content brief and brief content, right? Like if those were the cases, then yeah, Google's going to know that those have different intents to it. Brief content means like short content, and content brief means like creating briefs, content briefs. Google can recognize that. So as far as you're not doing that, it should be totally fine, right? Like people can have a contradicting points of view. But if you are talking about the same topic at hand, you're serving the same intent, then it should be no problem.
Yeah, I mean, give just examples, see if this makes sense. And again, sorry if this is a little bit very specific, but for instance, in my field, sometimes people, they want to get a certain certification called Scrum Master. And there's a number of different organizations. And almost everything out there, even from authority sites, everyone's pushing their favorite one, but their reasoning is just BS. They don't know what they're talking about. And so a lot of these articles out there are saying the same thing, such and such is better because, and it's just plain wrong. And so if I write an article, I'll answer the same question, but my answer is going to be totally different because so the user intent I'm thinking should be the same. So I'm hoping it won't have any effect, even if my answer contradicts everything else that's out there.
Absolutely. And I'll share a personal experience here. So I created a blog post, PostgreSQL versus MySQL. And PostgreSQL SQL Server, right? So there were some like DigitalOcean and a few other guys. they were writing why MySQL is more extensive. Similarly goes for PostgreSQL versus Oracle, and Oracle is writing, or like people who really love Oracle are writing like how Oracle is great against PostgreSQL. And my challenge was to position PostgreSQL in a way on all of those pages so people find that PostgreSQL can do almost all of these things, but differently. So it's totally fine. We outrank all of those guys. You should be able to without any problem. Just provide more upfront value and less sales pitch at the very end. And I think you should be fine.
Terrific. Thanks.
You're welcome. All right, guys. Any more questions? Feel free to unmute yourself or drop it. If you're shy, just drop it in the chat.
Sorry, I missed you guys doing the FAQ. Where did you get your information and how did you create the FAQ section?
Okay, so what I really did, so let's go ahead and delete this and I can show you again. Okay, so this is my FAQ section. Let's delete everything. I'll just minimize all of these things. First, I will show you how I got the questions. Okay, so what I did was I dumped in a raw transcripts from YouTube, but you can dump any sort of content that you have or a web page out of it and create FAQs from it. So it doesn't really matter what content. You can also say like types of CBD products. Okay, 1 second here. Medical benefits of CBD.
Is there a limit to how much you can dump?
There's a limit of 1,800 characters.
Okay, so if you need more, then just do 2 separate ones.
Yep, do 2 separate ones. But when it's reading content from the web, it can read not just 1,800, it can read everything because it's multiple things that we do in the backend. But when this is like only front end related, so 1,800 is the limit to get the best output that you want in a shorter time frame. Otherwise, they'll start giving you a bunch of crap, and you don't want that. So, but okay, so let's say medical benefits of CBD, and I want to create all the questions that I want to write or FAQ section for medical benefits of CBD. What I can do is come here, select FAQ, and generate concepts. Okay, there are some repetitive ones, which is okay. And you can see like there's like really good, what is CBD? CBD, the safety profile, right? Like that's something that people would ask. So this is a FAQ section that you can create for this particular thing. Now let's say you want to break this out into questions, right? So you can either convert this into an H3 tag. If I convert this, what are the benefits of CBD? I convert this into an H3 tag and it's going to bring it right here. Now, once it brings it here, it will also keep the trail of all the research that it found the data from. So if you wanted to write based on this information for this particular section, you can select related. And it will only bring out related information to this particular section. So I think everything is going to be a CBD related topic. So I'll not use this, and I'll probably use something like this. What are the used for? I have no idea what this is used for. So I'll create an H3 out of it. This is where you'd probably need some factual information. So I'd go here and say related. So it will try, this is the problem. Okay, it will try and get all the related information only. And let me just refresh the page here real quick. It's a Zoom bug. Every time I have Zoom open, it's going to break my browser. Okay, let's open this up here and you will see medical benefits of, okay, so what are this is what we were searching for, and we were trying to extract information for that only. And what it's doing right now, it's really trying to extract information for only that. So yep, and what we can do is just select that information and build out your particular paragraph if you wanted to, or you could also just use this particular thing. So you can just copy and paste it and you can say answer. So it can also start doing that. If you want longer outputs, just select the higher output here and then use the answer again. It should do it, or you can just start completing this particular section by clicking on write for me. There you go. So this is how you build out your FAQ. So you can use any content to pull out questions from. And once you have questions, you can use those questions to write answer using GPT-3 or using factual information. Is totally. Outranking really helps on generating concepts for our blog post. Can Outranking generate a good SEO content for website? I'm trying to create an e-commerce website content which is good and engaging. So it really depends. Yeah, you should be able to create content for any type of blog post, any type of page for a web, and you can score it over here. Blog post has been our primary focus up till right now, but in the next release, you'll see we'll focus on different kinds of content that lives on the web and can help you drive traffic and engagement as well. But yeah, you can write product descriptions here. You can write product content for your like e-commerce page. You can dump the data from your drop shipper's website, right? Like there's so many things possible to do with this kind of, with the same utility. Okay. Any other question, guys? We still have 14 minutes.
I do. An article I'm getting to write for the website that I'm on. Trouble is that what I want to write about is very narrow, and yet you do any type of research and it just gets all sorts of stuff going off in different directions. And to be specific, I want to write an article about DevOps certifications for managers, which would be DevOps Leader or DevOps Foundations.
Right.
You do any type of research, you'll see a ton of other stuff for DevOps for engineers, DevOps for Azure, reliability engineering foundation, all sorts of stuff that, continuous testing. I really don't want to get into all that, or the continuous delivery ecosystem. I mean, I could come up with a whole bunch of them. I want to just zero in on the ones that, a project manager might, someone who's not going to become the engineer, someone who's going to be leading the project, who may have some of these people working for them. So when I'm using Outranking and I want to do the research for, and also want to score an SEO, when I do something like this, it tends to mark me down if I'm not including all this other crap, which is really unrelated. So how do I, when I'm starting this, get it to zero in on just the very specific stuff that I want to write about and leave out the stuff that my particular reader is not going to be interested in? Does that make sense?
Yes, totally does. And I can understand the frustration with DevOps specifically. It's a relatively new term, as you can tell, and people are still trying to understand what the heck is DevOps.
Well, it's overused. They're throwing it in just to
exactly right, but
make
like
it look
nobody
sexy.
really
Let's put DevOps in this title to make it more sexy. People will want it, and it has nothing to do with DevOps.
Exactly right. And this is where the state of this thing comes from. Like, there's not many people contributing content or research material on DevOps, which is like, this is why it's like a new trend, right? And it's gonna grow into something. But I would suggest like use your custom research to build out your content specifically for this particular case. And when it comes to scoring, I would heavily lean towards topic coverage instead of any other matrices. So if there is not enough information, there's not enough related keywords, I think you'll still find like a few related keywords. But if you don't have too many, that's okay. If there are certain unrelated ones, that's okay. You don't have to include them, but make sure that the topic coverage in that particular case is really good. So your score below is fine, is not much content out there anyways, so you should be able to rank with even a 50 or 60 or a 70. That's not really a problem if there is not much content for that particular keyword.
Would you suggest in these cases having a title that's very, very specific, like DevOps for project managers, rather than just DevOps training?
Absolutely. So see, when you're talking, like, if you want to rank for DevOps training, you cannot just talk about managers. You got to talk about developers. You got to talk about Scrum Masters. You need to talk about DBAs. You need to talk about the developers, right? Like everyone who comes in that ecosystem and requires some sort of training, because you're talking about that really high level keyword, DevOps training, and training means like training for all of these personas, right? So you're going to have to be really broad. So if you want, like, if you really want to just create content for DevOps for product managers, I think that would rank faster. Definitely, there will be less competition, and probably very few people must have talked about it as well. So it's pros and cons, right? You'll get a lot more traffic, a lot more attention, and probably a lot more leads with that pillar page, which is DevOps training. But it just means that you'll have to create lots and lots of content for that particular page.
All right, sounds good. Thanks a lot.
Did I answer that question though?
Yes, actually, just talking about it, and as you're answering, it's just clarifying in my mind how to do it.
Got it. Okay.
Because I was wondering, how am I going to write? I want my whole blog is for project managers, or people want to be project managers. So things like Scrum Master, PMI ACP, Scrum Product Owner, PMP, all make sense. DevOps for managers makes sense, but the DevOps for engineers and developers does not. That's not the type of person who's going to go this particular blog.
Right. You could also, so see the way you introduce, like there's a few ways you can introduce DevOps into the training material. So you can say training for product managers, and then have DevOps as one of those things. So you can talk about it in it. So you can rank for training for product managers, because that will be something a lot of product managers will be looking for, right? So you change the angle of it, and instead of selling the training for DevOps to product managers, you sell training to product managers and sell as this as one of the categories in it.
I love that you say that, because that's exactly what I did. My main page is training on project management, and it's like the top 10 certifications for project managers. And I'm listing DevOps, and then I'm going to have a separate page where I go into DevOps for project managers, in more detail. I've already finished one on Agile and Scrum, for project managers, going into great detail, and gosh, using Outranking, it was fantastic. It's like one of the best pages I've created, I think. And so my next project is to do DevOps for project managers.
Yeah, it's just right on. This is something that we've done many times to convert some of the blog posts, which are just there driving traffic, but no leads. And this is how we add a few paragraphs and small CTAs and talk about certain other issues, and get a portion of those users interested into other sorts of trainings or other sorts of services that you're selling.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Welcome. All right, 8 minutes into it, guys. Any more questions? Plenty of new faces, guys. Any other questions that I can help you write faster, do more research, better research, pull out better content, anything? We'll give it one more minute. I hope this was useful, actually. I just wanted to kind of like go through yeah, go ahead.
What about write faster then? Oh, somebody said about any new method.
Yes, so let's answer your question first, and then we'll answer that. Julia?
Oh, sorry. I was just saying, any more ideas for writing faster?
Any more ideas writing faster? Yes. The way to write faster is to understand really the process of going about writing. I think the major challenge with using Outranking and to write faster is not knowing which steps really you need to use in order to get from that first paragraph to second paragraph to third paragraph. So what I would really suggest is, like, if you want to really be successful with Outranking and like how this modular approach of writing, create a small script, like just write down a process that you'd want to follow after experimenting. And once you have that process set, it will be really fast. So for example, like if you were writing like consistently product related blog posts, and you know that there are certain methods that you need to add and certain things that you're going to use on again and again basis, go ahead and add those, right? Like don't just leave them out, like add them into your edit folder so you can go back here and start using some of these things. Also, I'd suggest that even though this is like a very preliminary method, you can also have sort of a content brief that you can introduce for yourself using some of this utility. So I can say brief, my brief, how about that? My brief. I can say I'm writing a recipe for a particular blog post, and I just want like set steps, right? Like this is how I write recipes. So to follow these steps, and if you are doing it, your writer is doing it, doesn't really matter. Your VA is doing it, you can set the steps for them to follow every time. So this is one, and I could say ingredients, even if I can't spell it, let's just move on. Instructions, then 3, you can say tips, right? Like I'm just going to put 3 right now, and then show you how you can actually use this. So you can say help start and help end, and you can pretty much every time you come here, you can click this to just kind of have those steps laid out. So this could really help you create some quick ones. So okay, just Control C, and I'm just going to click save here. And you will see that this is in my folder. I've added my brief. Every time you click on it, it'll just write that brief, right? So you can be as extensive as you want, and you can even write out the steps that exactly you follow. You can, yeah, I mean, like you can say that write an introduction for the title. It can automatically understand what you mean by title, right? Like all of those things are possible. Let's say experiment a little bit, come up with a process that you can use for your specific use case. And if you're finding it difficult, I'm happy to create a blueprint for and a set of blueprint that you can use for your specific use case. I think that would work differently for everyone because everyone writes different kind of content, and the things and the utilities and the methods that you need to use for some of these things might all be very different. So I'd suggest experiment as much as you can and come up with a blueprint that you can use again and again.
Okay, so it's Bob again. So under the quick functions, I was trying to find a way to write a conclusion or final notes for a blog post I was working on. I know you've showed us this several times. I'm old, I can't remember.
So no, that's fine. Like we did not build out specifically something for conclusion yet, and there's a reason that I did not build out anything yet. I was waiting for this language release update where we pushed out certain aspects of the code where I can read certain parts of the content to come up with better conclusion than just coming out of it like blank head, right? Like I want to read a little bit of content. I want to read a little bit of context before I start building out the conclusion. So I'm working on putting a few conclusion methods together, which will have like, you can have a CTA type of a method or just a conclusion to read another post or take some action, right? Like there's many things that you can do with conclusions, and I want to be very specific. So we're going to build out some methods with pass, BAB, and all of those different frameworks, but in a conclusion manner. So it's all just related to conclusion.
Yeah. Okay, great. But how do we do it now?
Okay. Oh, here. It's simple. Let's just, I'm going to show you a quick method, and this video will be available later, so you can just replicate this. Conclusion, say right in the tone off or the description. Okay, I put full stop here, or you can just put a dot here. You can say title, and I can, if this works properly, it might need a little tweaking, but you can write on the go as well. So let's see this description, and then there is a tone, and you can say tone.
How many characters will this go back and read as it's writing this?
If you want, yeah, it can read up to 600 characters. It can go back. If you want it to read the content before it, then you can use, so this will not read it by default. You need to use this particular tag to allow it to read it, last content, and then it can read it. But in my opinion, what you really need is a few sections that you have included in here. So some context, title, description, and based on that, you want to probably build out your conclusion. So that's why I did not include last content in here, but you could say, you could also do something like this. Let's say, write a conclusion and tone. And in this description, let's say you don't want to use the original description that's up here. You can also include and say description here. And it will ask you to dump that description in here, whatever you were just writing conclusion about, and then you can press it and start writing conclusion. So let's say this is what we want: method description, conclusion, and let's just save it. Okay, so when I have my conclusion here, I can add, I will have to add conclusion. You don't have to add conclusion, you just start building it out, but it's okay. Let's command it, and it will ask you for the brief description, right? So you could say,
is there a max number of characters I can put in the custom input field?
600.
Okay.
And then you can say command. So it's asking me to write a tone. Let's say, I'm just going to put anything right now so we can move on, but here, and then you can just say command. It will try to write it. Again, I'd say it's very short, right? So it needs some training data, but you can, let's edit it, and I can say conclude, right?
Now, is all this in the help file or the documentation?
We're building out the documentation. It's actually, you can follow some steps here that are listed here, like start experimenting with it. What I'm working on is making a few methods public so people can take inspiration from and create their own using those methods. Just
yeah, okay, I'll sit back and I'll wait. I won't be a pain in the ass.
So sorry about that. No, it's okay.
It's okay. It's interesting to see how complicated it can actually get.
It can get complicated until it gets easier.
Well, yeah, once you understand it, it gets easier. I understand that. But I was just looking, because I know that's great doing it that way, but I was just looking for a quick method. Because you've got, I've seen you do
a quick method, right? So here's a quick method.
Yeah, a quick function, write a conclusion.
Write a conclusion, right? Write a conclusion, right? Like just this, right? And you can press enter, select this, and it will write a conclusion. You can say,
oh, okay, there we go.
Yeah, it can really do that. If you don't want it to read above it, you can just press, like put 333, and then, yeah.
All right, that's all it is. Write a conclusion.
Write a conclusion. Just put triple dot. You can also add some context around what sort of conclusion you want to write, like here, and then use the command if you want, or like there's many ways you can do it, but key is to understanding how to do this. There you go.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, that's what I wanted. Thanks, Mon.
You're welcome. No problem. Okay, looking forward. Okay, blueprint would be awesome. Working on it. Really learn a lot new things in each of these webinars. I'm glad you're finding it helpful, Kathy. And yes, looking forward to plenty of public methods. More to come. All right, guys. So we're 4 minutes past this, and we'll call it a day. And if you have any questions, this webinar also will be available later on. I'll share it in the group as well as through email and on YouTube. And if you have any questions, feel free to DM me or email us. And looking forward to seeing you in the next webinar.